The Galactic Academy was the most respected training center in the Orion Arm. It trained cadets from dozens of species: tall insectoid Varkans, proud reptilian Kreths, floating light forms from Lyra, and a few others. But there were no humans. Humans were banned from joining the Academy nearly 50 years ago. No one really remembered why. The story had been told and retold until it turned into a kind of joke. They said humans were too emotional, too reckless, too unpredictable to fit in the structured and logical environment of the galaxy's peacekeeping forces. To the young cadets, humans were a funny myth. In the dormitory of Section 9, a group of alien cadets sat around after training. Their glowing tablets showed the old archive symbol for human. It was an image of a simple creature: soft skin, weak limbs, no claws, no scales, no armor. "Look at it," said Torvak, a Kreth cadet with emerald scales. "No natural weapons, no exoskeleton, just flesh." A burst of laughter went around. "They banned these things. For what? Crying too much?" joked Zira, a Lyrian who shimmered like liquid light. "They must have banned them because they were too weak," another said. Torvak hissed in amusement. "Imagine a human on a battlefield. One hit and splat." Even their instructor, Commander Rel, sometimes joined in the teasing during lessons. "Remember, cadets, humans believed they could conquer the stars by emotion alone, but emotion doesn't stop plasma fire." The class laughed. And so the mockery continued, until the day they saw the footage. It began as an accident. During a history simulation test, one cadet named Prin accidentally accessed a restricted archive file. It was labeled Human Engagement Footage, Classification Omega. The file was old, from before the ban. Normally, such files were locked behind 3 layers of clearance, but the system glitch opened it for them. "Wait," said Prin. "This is human data." The others gathered around his console. The file played on the hollow screen. At first, the image was grainy. Then it focused. A dark planet, a battlefield covered in smoke and fire. The recording came from a combat drone orbiting above. Thousands of alien soldiers, Kreths, Lyrians, and others were retreating. Their formation was broken. Something terrible had happened. The feed zoomed in. A line of humans stood at the center of a ruined city. They were wearing worn-out armor, dented and scorched. Most of their weapons were damaged. They had blood on their faces, mud on their boots, and exhaustion in their eyes. But they were still standing. A robotic voice from the drone said, "Warning, Human 5th Defense Unit, holding position despite 97% casualty rate." Torvak frowned. 97%? That's impossible." "Keep watching," said Prin quietly. The humans were surrounded by towering enemy machines, massive walkers built by the Kreth Dominion during the old wars. Plasma cannons charged with deadly blue light. The humans didn't run. They didn't hide. They charged. The screen shook as the humans fired their primitive rifles, threw explosives, and even leapt onto the metal legs of the enemy walkers. One human, identified by the drone as Captain Mira Holt, carried no weapon at all. Her gun had run dry. She tore open a supply crate, pulled out an energy cell, and ran directly toward one of the walkers. "What is she doing?" Zero whispered. The footage showed her sprinting through falling debris. She jumped onto the burning wreckage of a crashed fighter, climbed, and slammed the energy cell into the walker's weak joint. The explosion tore the metal beast apart. The recording slowed down for analysis. Vital signs: terminal. Captain Holt, deceased. The humans behind her didn't stop. They kept pushing forward. The cadets were silent now. The next part of the footage showed the aftermath. The human forces had fallen. The battlefield was quiet, but their actions had destroyed the main invasion force of the Dominion. Billions of civilians were saved because of that last stand. The drone zoomed in on a human hand still gripping a broken flag, a simple blue and white cloth with a symbol, Earth Defense Alliance. Then the screen went black. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Torvak said softly, "That was madness." "No," said Prin, his voice unsteady. "That was courage." Commander Rel, who had entered the room without them noticing, stood behind them with a grave expression. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said quietly. "But maybe it's time you did." The cadets turned to him. "Sir," asked Zira, "is that why humans were banned? Because they were too dangerous?" Rel looked at the frozen image on the hollow screen. The human flag clutched in a lifeless hand. "Not dangerous to others," he said. "Dangerous to themselves." He sighed and began to explain. 50 years ago, the Galactic Council formed an alliance with humans. They fought side by side with us against the Kreth Dominion. They bled for planets that weren't even theirs. But when the war ended, the Council grew afraid. Humans would fight to their last breath, even when logic said retreat. They would destroy themselves to save others. The Council called them unstable. The cadets listened in stunned silence. After the Battle of Karthos, Rel continued, the Council voted to ban humans from all military service. They said humanity couldn't be trusted with peace, so they erased them from history and from the Academy's records. "But they saved us," Prin said. "That footage, those humans, they saved everyone." "Yes," Rel said quietly, and the Council buried that truth. He turned to face the young cadets. "Every few years, I see another group mocking humans, laughing at the weak species. You've all done it too. But strength isn't only in claws or armor. It's here," he tapped his chest, "in will." The room was silent except for the low hum of the hollow projector. Rel shut off the footage. "Forget what you saw. The file is classified." But they couldn't forget. None of them could. That night, Torvak lay awake in his bunk. He thought of the human woman running toward the enemy, knowing she would die, but doing it anyway. In his own species' code of honor, that was considered sacred bravery. Yet they had laughed at her kind. Zira floated near the ceiling, dimmed her glow, and whispered, "Maybe they weren't banned because they were weak. Maybe the galaxy couldn't handle their strength." Days passed, but the image never left their minds. Then something unexpected happened. 2 weeks later, the Academy received an alert, a distress signal from a nearby moon. An outpost had come under attack from rogue war machines left from the old Dominion Wars. A training squad was sent for rescue. Section 9, the same group who saw the footage, was chosen. When they arrived, chaos greeted them. The machines were everywhere, firing at anything that moved. Communications were jammed. Their commander's ship was destroyed. "Retreat," shouted the senior cadet. "We can't win this." But Torvak heard another voice in his memory, Captain Holt's last scream, the explosion, and the way she'd never turned back. "No," he said firmly. "We hold." "What?" shouted Zira. "We hold the line," I repeated. "We protect the evacuation craft." The others hesitated. Then, one by one, they followed. They set up defense lines, redirected power to shields, and fought as long as they could. Their armor cracked, their weapons overheated, but they didn't run. Hours later, reinforcements arrived and secured the moon. Section 9 had suffered heavy damage, but not one civilian was lost. When they returned, Commander Rel met them at the landing bay. His expression was unreadable. "I heard what you did," he said. Torvak saluted. "We remembered the footage, sir." Rel nodded slowly. "Then you understood the truth." "What truth, sir?" asked Zira. "That logic saves lives, but courage saves souls. Humans understood that better than anyone." He looked at them with pride. "Perhaps it's time the galaxy remembered. A few months later, the Galactic Academy quietly opened a new course: Historical Warfare, Human Tactics, and Psychology. The ban remained officially in place, but the silence around humanity was finally breaking. On the wall outside the classroom, a small hollow plaque was mounted. It showed an image of Captain Miraholt and her words recovered from a damaged audio file in that same footage. If the universe forgets us, that's fine. But we will never forget why we fight. For those who can't. Every cadet who passed by stopped to read it. Some saluted, some bowed. And among them were the same aliens who had once mocked the humans, now carrying their spirit forward into the stars. The galaxy had learned the truth. Humans had been banned not because they were weak, but because they were